Heading into round 4, it looked like this year might belong to Tony Elias, but a mid-season change from Dunlop saw Elias and his Yoshimura Suzuki struggle, while Monster Energy Yamaha's Cam Beaubier flourished, resulting in a 2-point lead for the Californian. Now, round 5 kicks off at the world-renowned WeatherTech Raceway, with the number 6 trying to stay on top. It's time for Superbike racing, MotoAmerica style, only on BN Sports. Welcome to the MotoAmerica AMA FIM North American Road Race Championship, round 5 of 10 for 2018. It's the Championship of Monterey from WeatherTech Raceway, Laguna Seca, right here in Monterey County, wedged between Salinas and Monterey. I'm Greg White, joining me, Jason Pridmore in the booth, as Jason has raced at this level many times. And Jason, here we go, transitioning into the MotoAmerica Motul Superbike class race action, and a surprise pole position sitter, I think, today.
You know, I'd like to think it's a surprise, but Josh has been riding amazing, and he's got a good setup. And, you know, people are going to say he's got a little extra track time, which he has. That's definitely helped him, but 22.9 is no joke. Cameron Beaubier, but I think the bigger surprise, I don't know, Greg, Danny third. A tremendous job.
The third member of our broadcast team is Hannah Lopa, and she is down on the grid in the heat and the sunshine. Hannah, how's it going?
What's going on, guys? It's beautiful down here. The grid is filing in. I feel like it's a little warmer here than I may have noticed last year. The wind has picked up a little, but probably nothing really significant enough to make a change. Clear blue skies, not a cloud in sight. Like you guys were saying, Josh is on pole today, which is crazy. Amazing for him. We've got Danny Eslick starting on the front row, so I think this is going to be some good racing. What do you guys expect to see today?
You know, I think for me, it's going to be a battle. I think it's going to be a battle up front, and a lot of it is going to depend on the start, because this 2.2 mile circuit here at WeatherTech Raceway, Laguna Seca, is quite tricky, Jason.
I think it's going to be this guy myself. I think that, you know, when we start looking at this track, like you're mentioning, Greg, the Laguna Seca hot spots, as you see, check the flag there, that's where we're going to start our lap. Turn 1 is so fast. It's very key to get your bike set up well so you can go up over the top of that hill as fast as you can, Greg. Turn 1 leads down into a very famous turn 2. We remember seeing this back in the '88 Grand Prix USGP. These guys coming up through turn 1 and doing a lot of outbraking and things down through turn 2. As you can see, you go up over this top, Greg, and the bike wants to get tremendously light. You see some good stuff from our last year's footage, right? Turn 2. After turn 2, short little straightaway down into turn 3. This is one of the spots that I picked as being a hot spot because of the overtaking down in turn 2. Saw a lot of action down there. There's only a couple places that are really places that you can pass here. We go through 3, 4. As you go through turn 5, you start heading uphill into turn 6. It's pretty tricky because you can see here on the camera how it dips down and away. Yeah, there's so many different ways that you can take this, even though it's so narrow in there, but there's so key to get through there as comfortable as you can, because it's very easy to make mistakes up to probably the most famous place in motorsports, at least here in America, the corkscrew. A lot of things happen up here. We saw Tony Elias last year go up underneath Roger Hayden. We've seen so many different races decided up in this one little spot. Great place for the fans to sit. Down to our final hot spot, turn 11. Really, it's the slowest corner on the track. It's the one that causes the most chaos, and we've already seen a lot of crashes there this weekend.
All right, so that's the hot spots presented by Suzuki. Jason, thank you so much for that. As you can see that the riders have already done their sighting lap and they have taken the grid. And so, you know what? I mean, we are getting ready. The tension is high. Fans are here all over the place. And Jason, the one thing about this new series that we have here in MotoAmerica is Dunlop is the control tire. And for more about Dunlop, let's take a look at this little thing we have for you in our Dunlop feature. Pre-race show is presented by Dunlop Motorcycle Tires, built here for the way you ride here. One of the things we love to do here at MotoAmerica is take the helmet off the racers. And for this one, we wanted to introduce you to 5th in points, Jake Lewis. So here is the M4 X-Star Suzuki rider with the mullet.
Yeah, well, I got my first motorcycle actually when I was 3 years old for Christmas. But obviously the first time I rode a motorcycle, I don't really remember it too well. I just know it was in my front yard, and from the time I was 4, I was going around in circles on dirt tracks. So it's kind of how I got started in all this. The first time I went road racing was pretty funny because I was actually still in my dirt track boots and my leathers didn't even have spots for knee pucks. I actually went to a supermoto race and was there dragging my foot, and I was wearing my steel shoe, you know, like they do in dirt track, and wore the bottom through that. And then after that, like, you have to start dragging knee, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna get the hang of this. And the first road race I went to wasn't pretty, but it did take me a while to get the hang of it. When I was 12 years old, I was racing like a series called USGPRU, and we traveled all across America, and there's 40 125s back then, and I would be winning and battling for the top 3, top 5 positions. And at that point, you know, you kind of know if you have it or if you don't have it. So it's a good feeling to be fast and to be confident in yourself.
All right, it's good to get to know Jake Lewis a little bit better. Love that mullet. We'll take a break on Being Sports. We're coming right back to WeatherTech Raceway. Hang tight. MotoAmerica is presented by Dunlop Motorcycle Tires, built here for the way you ride here. And powered by Kawasaki. Let the good times roll. All right, welcome back. And since riders are on the grid, let's get down to Hannah. Hannah? Hannah?
I don't.
All right. Oh, sorry about that.
Hannah looks like she's having a little trouble, but you can see, Greg, that they're just starting to clear the grid now.
Yeah, what were you saying?
And, you know, when they get everybody off the grid, this is when things start to really, as a rider especially, start to get a little bit more nervous, start making a plan. Doesn't matter what row you are, and just start get that plan going for that first turn. When that warm-up lap gets ready to go, Greg, visor down, ready to rip.
Yeah, super important, I think, too, Jason, to really get a plan in place for how you're going to get down into turn number 2.
Yep.
Very unique place to start. You've talked about it before. You kind of go up a hill, then down a hill, and it's very, it can get very snug in there. So take a look at the starting grid. If you missed our Super Bowl coverage, it was Josh Herron with a 122.908 in qualifying, and then it was Cam Bobier and Danny Hesslick. That's no mistake right there. He did an outstanding job. Tony's been struggling a little bit this weekend. You can see 1.177 off. That's on the cue, though. Garrett Gerloff looking like he might have a race pace to maybe put on the podium, and then Jake Lewis on row number 2.
And Jake's done a good job. Even I saw him riding around with Gerloff this morning, so I know he can run that pace. Wyman Skultz, who's also been struggling a little bit. Cameron Peterson did a good job this morning. Bobby Fong, David Anthony, and Raj Hayden. Raj fell over on really coming towards doing his first fast lap. He fell over in turn 11, didn't get back out there. We got Sebastian Ferreira, Jason Uribe, nice to see him riding again. Max Flinders, Bruno Silva, Sam Verderico back there, and then Roy Holster as well. But this is the guy right now. We saw him come in from World Superbike. He pulled in about 7 laps early, maybe has some back spasms or something going on there. I guarantee you, though, one thing will happen. He will get a good start, and he will be firing it off for the first 4 or 5 laps.
All right, let's head it down to Hannah, who has our Cycle Gear last-minute report.
This weekend, Team Hammer is celebrating 35 years of partnership with their helmet sponsor, Arai. To commemorate this landmark, all of the M4XR Suzuki riders will be wearing a replica of the original Team Hammer helmet, so keep an eye out for Jake Lewis during this race to check it out. It's pretty cool.
35 years with Arai, 38 years as a team, Team Hammer, and that's the M4 X-Star Suzuki. You can see Jake right there in those bright yellow and blue leathers, wearing that red, white, and blue helmet. It's pretty cool.
38 years that team's been here. John Ulrich and all the crew and people, and now Chris obviously running things as well down there. What a contribution to the sport. But that helmet there that you see Jake Lewis wearing has been worn by some incredibly, legends of the sport as far as America goes have got a chance to throw that helmet on. John gave those guys a lot of opportunities back in the Weir days. A lot of back in the Suzuki Cup days especially, there was a lot of guys that wore that helmet, and you need to see, can't believe it's been 35 years that they've been sponsoring the team, but that's a neat thing that they've done this weekend.
Yeah, the list of riders that has come through that program.
It's crazy.
Absolutely insane.
Those
I mean,
things
Jamie
are-
Hacking rode for them, Josh Hayes. I mean, it's not even worth getting into the
Britt
list.
Turkington and Kurt Hall and all these other guys that
Yeah.
were just amazing riders. So, but we're getting ready to get this race started. How do you think it's going to go, Greg? I kind of got my own little ideas here. I think that this man right here is going to be very
So
difficult
fast.
to beat. I think he's going to have to deal with Herron a little bit the first 4 or 5 laps myself, and then I think he's got this race pace that seems to be undaunting. And I think Elias is going to have to get a good start to try to go with Cameron. Things can get messy the first 5 laps between those 3. We'll see how it works. But I think Garrett Gerloff also has a great chance to put it on the podium too. So, and it's just a matter too of how healthy Josh feels there coming from the pole position. But what about Danny Eslick maybe leading turn 1? That'd be a fun one to see too.
I'd love to see that.
It'd be great to see.
Don't put it past Danny Eslick to send the thing sideways on the first lap down into turn number 2 and just dirt track the thing around.
Yeah.
All right, well.
He did it this morning.
He certainly did, and then put it in the gravel trap. All right, so race 9 of 20 for the season, so just about the halfway point. The margin right now in the championship, Cam Beaubier has a slim 2-point lead over Tony Elias. And yes, race wins are the important thing, but I know that championship is on people's minds as well as we get ready to get race action underway. Race number 1 for the Motul Superbike class here in MotoAmerica. All signs are we're ready to rock and roll. Visors are down, and when that red light goes off, we're getting after it. There we go. And it looks like Herron had a pretty decent launch, but here comes Tony Elias, as he has been doing all season long.
Wow.
He's going to sweep around the outside.
Unreal the starts that Tony gets, and now it's going to be a matter. He's closed up, and look at Jake Lewis. Jake Lewis comes in. Cameron Beaubier got the worst possible
man's
start he
land.
could get. This is not good for Cameron coming from that far back. Kyle Wyman, unbelievable too for Kyle Wyman to be up there in
Look
fourth.
at
But
Herron.
I told you there'd be fireworks early. Herron's going to go after, especially when he's on new tires. This is what he has the capabilities of doing now. Can he get away? That's the thing. He talked a lot about how he felt like he was getting slowed mid-corner at MotoAmerica. Now he can run this track the way he wants to, and he doesn't know it, but Cameron Beaubier is back there in 5th and 6th spot, battling with Wyman. He gets through. Now he's got Lewis directly in front of him. Rogers made a good start from row 4, but right now at the front, it's Herron, Elias, and Danny Eslick. Great job by Danny too.
Love what Jake Lewis is up to. Now Beaubier's going up the inside-outside
That's
move.
a big move, Craig.
That
is. To commit to running over the paint and go up underneath somebody who's going to put you on the outside going into the corkscrew. But this is the kind of stuff that you got to do when people are bunched together. You can't procrastinate. You can't sit around and wait. This guy was back to 6th or 7th very early in his lap. And he's already got by 2 guys that he needed to get by early. Danny Eslick will be next in his sights.
So Cameron Beaubier got shuffled back. Good move from Roger Hayden.
He's come forward a lot now. He's just going to be right behind Jake Lewis. So this is great for Rogers. He's going to go past Lewis, get himself up into 5th place really early. Tremendous first lap for Roger Hayden.
All right, so Roger Hayden moves into 5th spot as Kyle Wyman sends the thing sideways, trying to get the motorcycle stopped into turn 2. That's going to leave the door open.
And
He's going to be vulnerable.
Where's Tony? I didn't see Tony Elias there, Greg. I did not see Tony. I saw Eslick is now 2nd. Cameron Beaubier 3rd. Tony Elias is gone. Did he crash in turn 2? Has he done something in turn 2? Yep, he went into turn 2. And Greg, I'm not sure if we're going to get a replay of this, but he gets the thing backed in sometimes so much. It'll be interesting to see if it snapped back and maybe lost the front. But look at this. Danny Eslick now has got the Shivey Racing BMW up in the 2nd place. Tremendous job from Danny.
So Beaubier in 3rd right now. Beaubier trying to make some big moves. There's Tony back out on the racetrack. Look at the swing arm.
Yep.
That's a swing arm they started the season with. They had a different one that we talked about a couple races ago. He crashed the motorcycle earlier on, yesterday actually, and destroyed that swing arm. So he went back to that team trying to figure out that setup. So Tony's got to get some data out of this race.
It's absolutely important right now that Cameron doesn't do something crazy trying to get by Danny. Pick your spot, find your spot, go by. We're 2 laps into 23 as he's going to try to go up underneath Danny right now as they head down into turn 11. See if he runs wide. Let's see if Danny goes back underneath him on the exit. He's able to make it stick. Now, what I believe is that Cameron's going to be able to run and pound out a bunch of 24-minute, 24-second lap times. And And we'll see if Herrin can keep the tires underneath him for the remainder of the race. It's really going to be from this spot till about 6 or 7 laps from the end to see the tire performance that Herrin's going to have.
Speaking of tire performance, a good look at Cameron's. You can see that there are green stickers on his tires. That indicates to us that Cameron is running the extra soft as we look at Tony Elias back rejoining the race. So what we have is, if you see red, that's the super soft. So that's like the softest tire, race tire available from Dunlop. The extra soft green is the next level harder. And then
He's got a problem, Greg.
Yeah.
There's a problem with Tony's bike. So
I just heard it.
Yeah,
Boom.
yep. And you got to wonder, it didn't really look like he had crashed it. Both sides of the bodywork looked fairly clean, so it'll be interesting to see. But what does this do for the championship? I mean, this blows the championship wide open now. Huge momentum swings for Cameron Beaubier from MotoAmerica and here at Laguna Seca, providing that Cameron can keep it up.
So Roger Hayden flying the flag for the Yoshimura Suzuki crew right now, trying to at least salvage a podium. Part of the reason why it's always a benefit for teams to have 2 riders, not only development, where you look at Danny Eslick, he's the only rider on that Shivey Racing BMW, and they're just plugging along, but at least you have Roger Hayden and Tony Elias that are able to share information within that crew and work on developing. Now, a lot of people forget this motorcycle was brand spanking new last year.
Yep.
It's only the 2nd year of this GSXR 1000.
Yep, that's exactly right. And this is good form on Raj to be able to see him kind of make his way up to the front a little bit earlier. He's going to have to try to get by Danny here fairly quickly if he wants to try to do anything with Cameron. Because right now, 24.5, that last light by Cameron, he was the only one of the 24s other than Roger Hayden. Roger's in a 24.8. But that bike looks really good underneath Danny right now. This
it
bike,
does.
And Steve Shivey and his whole team have done such a tremendous job.
And
And
it's not like Cameron's checking out.
No,
he's
not at
eking
all.
away, definitely eking away, but he's not just checking out. So this could be a huge confidence boost for this team and for Danny Eslick as well.
Yep.
As Roger Hayden got right on the back of Eslick, but now we're working close to a lap that Hayden has been behind Eslick. No panic for Beaubier as he's 9/10 behind. He knows the story for Herrin.
Yep.
He knows he's got all those World Superbike laps, which works against him, especially with the extra heat of the day. Herrin's a very strong, physically fit rider, but he's definitely not Superman.
No, and the thing is that when you watch what's going on here, Cameron will just keep chipping away. I already saw Josh went from a 24.6, he went 25 flat. Let's see what he does this lap. In this particular lap, Cameron can see that he's closed down quite a bit. In fact, really, these 2 guys here have closed down on the leader as well. Last time it was 2.6 back to Raj. Let's see what it is this lap. It looked like they had maybe closed, 2.3 now. So everybody behind Josh has moved a little bit closer to him.
With that in mind, if Josh continues to set this pace, 24.6, 25.5 actually last time around for Herrin. So he is losing time, like we're saying, to these first 3. With all the laps remaining in this race, we could possibly see Danny Eslick standing on a podium.
There's no question about that, because that's a full second for Josh. So he might be feeling not only just tired from the amount of laps, but if he does have those back spasms or something's really hurting him, it could be hard for him to just continue to get through this race.
Hannah,
Yeah, I actually got to talk to Josh before the race started, and he mentioned, he was having a little bit of difficulty. He felt like the front end was going to tuck, but it was causing him to really tense up and tighten his back from a pre-existing back injury. And he knew he had another race after this, and he made the decision to pull in so that he could commit to the full length of this race as well.
makes sense. He's currently 3rd in points, and you know the story where the first race of the year his motorcycle didn't show up, and he got his track day bike, an R1S, ready to go, and raced it and scored some valuable points, and now he sits at 115 points, and he's got a couple of 3 second place finishes so far on the season. Josh Herrin, so really putting the priorities in place this weekend with pulling out of that World Superbike race. Here comes the drive.
Wow.
Beautiful drive by Roger Hayden. And that's about as easy as pass you want to do. But up the inside comes Danny. Little close. That's looking a little deep.
He wanted to have a go, but now if Danny can just kind of get stuck in and go with Raj. Raj looks like he's got a little bit of pace still. Raj just had one of those strange years. He needs a little bit of luck.
Strange years.
He ran a little bit wide there on the exit of turn 3, in the middle of turn 3.
Yeah.
Turn 3 is such a hard corner. When you see that apex disappearing from you, these guys know, get the thing stood up a little bit early, run wide, continue on. But if he can kind of get stuck in behind Raj right now, it might pull him up along, especially knowing that Herrin's hurting a little bit. Because pretty quickly, Cameron's going to start to engage here with Josh. That could slow them up a little bit and help those two behind.
Number 2 2, Josh Herron on that attack performance. Herron compound, Yamaha R1, being developed by Richard Stamboli from Attack Performance, and what a great job that entire team is doing. Get this motorcycle working the way that Josh Herron wants it. Cameron Beaubier, of course, on his team, just doing a great job. I mean, Cameron is just, there's been something about Cameron this weekend, I think really after the last race weekend, where things have started to click. If you joined us for our Super Pole coverage, you know that we talked about Cameron is running a brand new tank this weekend that allows him to wrap around that tank a little bit easier and get in a tuck. He also feels like he's able to move around the edge of that tank, to swivel around in his body position a lot easier, and it's very comfortable for him. And it was something they tried back in December, but it took his crew all the way until this time of year to get that tank manufactured. It takes time, and it's very costly.
Yeah, well, the neat thing is that, you know, not losing that connection with the bike has obviously become something that was pretty important for him. We've even seen that over in the MotoGP with Lorenzo. They talk about how they had to make a tank where he could actually hold on to the tank a little bit more. That kind of thing is important. You can see Herron getting loose out of turn 5 already. So we're on lap 7 of 23. And, you know, Josh is going to have seen his board go from maybe +1 to +1.5 back to +0 now as they head up that back hill, as they come up into the corkscrew. Oh my gosh, Cameron's trying the same exact pass on here, and it's going to be a lot harder for him to do that there. You got to put a lot of trust in the guy you're racing against to be able to make that pass. I don't think that Cameron right now needs to force anything. This guy out front wants a win pretty badly, and I think that what you've got to remember is it's a long season, and we still got a lot of laps left in this race. I think Cameron's just got to pick his spots just a little bit more careful than trying to put himself in that position where has to be onto the outside of Herron going up into the corkscrew. Very, very difficult place to pass. And he was lucky because Jake Lewis saw him very early when he made that pass early. Jake saw him and gave him that little bit extra room, because you can see here, Herron's bike is still pointing to the right, and that's the difference. Herron doesn't really know he's going to be there. That would be even a surprise to Herron to see somebody come up over the curbing to the right of you there.
A little bit more work to do for the Monster Energy Yamaha Factory Racing. Cameron Beaubier, that's number 6, second bike in your screen, as our pole sitter Josh Herron continues to lead the way in this one. Lap times have dropped down into the mid-25s. Last time by, Herron at 25.5, and with that mistake, Beaubier at 25.7. But you can see Cam is able to close right back up on the back, just in about 6 or 7 corners. So I don't think Cam's going to try to make that save heading up to the course.
I agree with you. I think that he needs to just keep applying pressure, do the best he can. Both of these guys have now been able to pull a big enough gap on 3rd place, which is Raj still, and Eslick still kind of trying to go with Raj as well. I think over time and over distance, I think Cameron, just shown by some race pace, has been able to have a little bit more tire underneath him. And you can see Josh really strong out of Rainy Curve there.
Look from our onboard camera, coming up into the final corner of this racetrack, turn 11. You see how Herron's just getting that bike leaned over and stopped and gets on the gas hard. You can see that tire combination as well. So Herron choosing that red compound tire. So that's the super soft. That tire was actually something, if you watched us race before, we used to call that a pre-Q, a pre-qualifying tire that would go like 4 or 5 laps. There's a slight change still not made to that tire, and now able to go race distance. Tony Elias back out circulating the racetrack.
Yeah, he's going to jump up. There's 15th there, so that's at least going to get him a point as he slides up underneath San Rodrigo as they come out of the corkscrew down into Rainy. Just in front of him, he's got Bruno Silva. Another guy who's been going to all the races this year has Bruno. He's from the Florida region as we get back up to the front. So Tony's got himself kind of back in the points already. And Cameron's going to just continue to work on Josh. You know, really, when you look at both these guys and how they're riding, you can definitely see a little bit of a difference. Yeah, they're both on R1s, but you're going to see Josh's bike is you know, especially on the exits. You saw just now going into turn 2, a lot of backing in there. Cameron's bike is going to stay a little bit more in line than Herron's as of right now. Coming down to the corkscrew, a little bit different lines.
So Herron with a second look at Rainy Corner. You can start to see the movement from the rear end of Herron's bike on acceleration. Along with, you know, he tends to have a bit of movement going into the corners.
There we go. Cameron's having a go at him right now in turn 11.
Can he get a turn?
Can he get a turn, stopped, and out of there? Let's see if he's able to do that. And he was, Greg. He's able to. He's going to move over to the left. It's going to make it a little bit harder for Heron. Now, Heron generally loves to fire back. So let's see if he does anything as they come down into turn 2. He's going to fire it right back underneath. Is he going to try? Yep, he tried, Greg, but Cameron got in there really, really well.
I like that line that Cameron chose. And you can see there, he sacrificed way on that double apex corner, but was able to hold on to it. I think that started when he really came over the crest of the hill and down into that corner.
Correct. And now we'll be able to see how much, if Josh can actually go with him and has the pace to go with him. This is what Josh did so well at MotoAmerica. He was able to kind of find the pace and go after these guys. It's been a long weekend for that number 2 bike. As much riding as he's been doing all weekend. And here you go. Now Tony's actually caught up to Max Flinders. He should be able to go by him. Not down this front straightaway, but probably into turn 2. As you can see, he's going to go around the outside of him as they come up over the top of turn 1.
That's nice and close as Tony makes that move, gains another position. So that'll move him up into 13th spot. So that's another couple of points for Tony.
Really interested to see what might have happened to Tony, because you look, Greg, look on the left side of the bodywork. It doesn't look like it's been down at all. No, the left side looks clean. He may have got in there too deep, got in the gravel, and just tipped over in the gravel. That could have been what had happened there.
Could even be a false neutral or
could
something.
Have been.
You know, just one of those weird things. So
just something strange.
We'll wait to find out, because that move, though, early on in that race could have long-term championship ramifications, as this 2-time Superbike champ is trying to get back his crown. So Beaubier comes by 25-1, so it doesn't set the world on fire, but it's a very solid lap time compared to Josh Heron's 25-4. So now it's about 0.4 of a second, and of course the accordion effect here as speeds differ from corner to corner.
But Heron's going with him, and you can see he's really trying to go with him, which is great. You know, you can say a lot about a lot of riders, but when you see a guy who's willing to fight, I love that, because they don't want to just give things up, and that's what Josh has been really good at this year.
I think Cameron's got a bit of a thing going on. Good advantage from 3 to 4.
Yep.
He's able to just get that bike turned a little bit better, I guess you could say, or you know,
the bike just doesn't get as upset. If you watch how he rides, he's just very fluid, very simple as Cameron. He doesn't do a lot of extra work on the motorcycle. He rides very, very efficiently. I think, like you said, Greg, the little change that they've got there with that tank is going to help him as well. Great shot from our camera coming down through the corkscrew.
It's incredible to think about what Heron and his crew are going through this weekend.
Oh my gosh.
Trying to compete in both classes. It's just, you know, and with one motorcycle. A lot of people thought it would naturally just be 2, and it's not. And World Superbike working with the team, making sure that Heron's bike isn't stuck in Parc Ferme at the end of the race, making sure that his bike is available for them to change the bodywork or change the tank and get the thing out on the racetrack so we can compete in both.
It's a testament to Stamboli and the motor build. I mean, on that motorcycle, as far as how many laps that bike is doing, there's probably be a lot of teams or people that wouldn't want to put a bike through that much stress. But you can see Heron's done a tremendous job going with Cameron here right now. Both 25-4s that last time by. Raj is at 26 flat, so he's about 0.6 off. Is Raj.
You can see the tire choice for Cameron Beaubier, extra soft on both front and rear, and those are the new green stickers that we're going to see from this point forward from Dunlop. That'll give you a good idea of the different tire combinations. So compared to Heron's rear tire, which is the super soft, that's actually a softer compound tire, doesn't necessarily mean just because the compound's softer that it's going to go off any quicker. It totally depends on the setup of the bike, how the rider rides it, temperature on the racetrack, and the tire pressures as well, which Dunlop, with this new profile tire, Jason, the new 260 profile tire, Dunlop told me they're still working on the optimal combination of tire pressures. Very critical in motorcycle road racing.
Yeah, there's no question about that. And you can play with those things a lot, and again, different bikes to different manufactured bikes, they're going to treat the tires different, how the power is delivered, and so on and so forth, how a rider brakes. All these things can change from one rider to the next, but love what I'm seeing here. We got a nice little battle up at the front between these two guys, and not much in it. And Raj done a good job to put himself in third, and it was a little bit of hard work for him to come all the way from where he came from. A little bit of bad luck there, like we said, in qualifying, as he's caught up to number 26, Roy Holster.
Roger trying to find a bit of a line. Thought for a moment maybe the inside line, but he'll take it here. And Jason, you mentioned for Roger Hayden that he's had a bit of a weird year. I mean, 3 DNFs, that's do not finishes, and 1 did not start, and only 1 third place position. I don't think there's anyone not even in Vegas that would have been able to predict what kind of year Roger Hayden has had. He's all the way down in 11th place in the championship, and he's only scored 47 points so far.
Such a contrast to what we saw last year. And you can see here, Danny just wasn't able to kind of go with Raj and just put him back in the clutches now of Garrett Gerloff, who I expected to be a little bit further up, to be fair. I thought he might be able to go with Raj, but Garrett's there with Matthew Schultz, another guy who I'm shocked to see a little bit further back than normal. But it just goes to show, Greg, all these guys have had tremendous races this year. Schultz is going to get held up just a bit there as they come to the corkscrew. But there are just some weekends where it becomes a lot harder work than others. And you know, Tony's been struggling a little bit. Some of our other guys, and it's just a good time for Cameron right now because Cameron seems like he's on the forward momentum with a couple of these other guys who are just on their back heels a little bit.
Our fingers are pointing to this new tire that Dunlop came out with last race weekend at MotoAmerica. You know, there's 260. It's 14 millimeters larger in diameter, so literally just think 14 millimeters taller, basically. Yeah. And so some teams are taking a little bit longer to get used to it. At the end, the reason for the switch was the teams were looking for more drive grip. And so, you know, the way that this profile tire is, a larger tire for Dunlop, it seems Tony Elias has been struggling. His team hasn't quite found the secret sauce, and so has the Yamalu Westby Racing team. And, you know, if you look at it, Jason, Tony Elias and Matthew Schultz, they have a very similar riding style in which they approach the corner, in which they get the bike up on the meat of the tire. And so to have those two riders struggle specifically, it's going to take some time. Look at what happened last year in Supersport with Garrett Gerloff when Dunlop introduced that new tire, and JD Beach. JD was nearly winning all the races. Yep. And then as soon as Gerloff and his team figured that tire out, it was like off the back for JD.
He literally took off. And here you go. Tony went underneath Sebastian Ferreira this last lap into turn 3. So he's trying to get himself going forward. He knows he's got some laps left. I think the next one is going to be quite a bit harder for him to get, Greg. He's 11.5 seconds behind Bobby Fong, who I'm shocked to see struggling a little bit here as well. So it's just weird. It's just kind of been a strange little weekend here that we've had. There's a storyline for all these riders except for one. This guy has just kind of done a great job all weekend in the MotoAmerica portion of it. The guy behind him has done a ton of laps around here, riding 2 different major classes. Then everybody else has just kind of had a story behind what they've got going on.
Rick Hobbs, crew chief for the Monster Energy Yamaha factory racing team. And, you know, it's always development. And that's part of what this tank is for Cameron Beaubier, that new tank, and him able to get wrapped around. There's always requests from riders to have little things to make them go quicker. And this team always looking to develop this R1 to the next level. So Cam Beaubier last time around, a 125.3 to Heron's 125.7. Roger Hayden not making any inroads into Heron. He's settling at 6.4 seconds adrift of Cam Beaubier, 5.7 behind Heron. Garrett Gerloff has gotten around Eslick, so he's starting to march forward, as is Cam Peterson, who got by Jake Lewis. So back there in 7th spot, Cam Peterson on the Genuine Roaster Chicken Honda CBR 1000RR, having a good go at it this weekend. Peterson with a little bit of extra pressure on him, maybe, Jason, because he showed up and he's got a teammate.
Yeah, but I saw Jason didn't start. Uribe didn't start the race, and so that was a bit of a drag. But Cameron, so far, don't want to do the announcer curse, but he has done a great job. I mean, I think 26 fast lap. He's still running 27.2, so he's doing a good job.
All right, what's going on down there, Hannah?
I was talking to one of our race officials right at the start of the race, Rachel, who's out here. Jason Uribe's team was pulling the bike off of the track, and I asked her, you know, what's going on, and she said, I'm not sure why, but he requested to start from pit lane, so maybe some electronic issues getting the bike started, not 100% sure on that, but originally he had requested to start from pit lane after the race had started, so.
Okay. Yeah, we'll have to look into that one, you know, after and get you the story tomorrow for sure.
Hopefully Jason can ride tomorrow, you know, hopefully that'll be the case, and get a couple of those Broster bikes going around the track.
But Danny Eslick with a wheel in the air, enjoying his ride in 5th place right now, but he's coming under fire from Matthew Schultz. If you joined us in Super Pole qualifying, something very strange happened. I mean, it happens more often than you think, as Jason pointed out, but just a little team miscommunication, and they were taking the bike off the stand to go off for qualifying. and down she went.
Wow, yeah, that's crazy to think that that happened. We just heard we just heard that Tony was down again, and this is also turn 2 again, Greg. Sorry, I didn't mean to I could just hear in that we had heard that Tony might have gone down again. But yeah, Matthew Schultz's team, both of them pulled the stands out, but nobody was holding the bike. And here you go, Tony coming down into turn 2, and just kind of gets in, and there's the front. Front just kind of goes on him, and lucky that bike didn't ghost ride itself.
Really lucky.
It was ready to ghost ride itself, but you can tell Tony's just not happy. I can see it in his riding. I can see in what's going on. He knows that he's got to just kind of keep going around. He can still get a point if that's the case. Here comes Cameron Beaubier coming around the lap, and you can see Cameron is now finally Josh Herron is relented a little bit in his quest to try to beat Cameron. And but what a tremendous job by the whole Attack Performance team, giving Josh a bike that he's able to ride for this many laps this weekend. It'll be great to see him try to get that bike on the podium. But Cameron goes through. He's going to know now that Tony's had some big problems this race.
Got to be a big smile underneath the helmet.
And you know what, Greg, when you see that happen, you made mention earlier about Tony maybe catching a false neutral running off the track. When a guy loses the front that early, like he just lost it there, it could have been a very simple case of that again. He might be in a false neutral and just pull a little bit too much lever on to have to slow the bike down. Because that happened in a really strange spot. It looked like he had already maybe made his initial downshifts and wasn't going to really have a problem. And then all of a sudden, the front just kind of goes. When a bike clicks into neutral, it's almost like somebody pushes you. And when that happens, it's very, very easy to lose the front because you're used to applying a certain amount of pressure. When the bike kicks into a false neutral, that's when you have a bigger problem.
And not to mention the fact that now you've got to use a different part of your brain, because when you're normally in a rhythm of shifting and all of a sudden it doesn't work, that just lap traffic.
Yeah, but just, even when you're getting lapped, even if you see a blue flag, it's important that you keep your pace up a little bit, especially down the straightaways. It looked like Cameron sat up real quick. It looked like Sam was doing the right thing by kind of letting Cam go through. But and it's hard because when you're in a race with somebody else and you get blue flags and things like that, it can definitely be difficult for those guys. But down the straightaways, you just want to keep that pace up a little bit. Cameron, or Danny here, has done his best to try to stay with Garrett.
Yeah, a little bit of hurry up.
And he's done a good job keeping Schultz behind him.
Super soft on the front. Actually, sorry, extra soft on the front for Danny Eslick. Super soft on the rear. These guys, in talking to Matthew Schultz, I asked him after last weekend, Jason, if his confidence took a little hit. And he was like, not really the confidence. He knows he can ride, but it's hearing the expectations of other people. Schultz has won a race, has a second and 2/3 on the season, and then to find himself that far back, it's almost like after you win a race, you just expect yourself to be up front the entire time. And what that small team has done is actually incredible. The Western Racing team. So, now they're being thrown with a curveball, and it's just going to take them a little bit of time, and they understand that, to get the bike feeling as comfortable as it was before the big tire change.
Well, the thing is that once you win and once you get on the podium a lot like he was at the beginning of the year, the expectations, and of course, I feel like Matthew's a guy that should be up here winning races. I know he's capable, 100% know he's capable of it.
Oh, yeah.
And so, the thing for me is that it sometimes can be very difficult when you start winning and then you have a rough weekend. It doesn't take much to come down from or start not believing in yourself. Even though you've got a great team and a good bike and a great group of guys around you, you start struggling a little bit. Questions start to get asked. That team is not going to have that problem. They're too close-knit, and chucking those guys down there runs such a great organization that they'll have Matthew back in front in no time.
5 laps to go in this one, as Cam Beaubier with a 3.3 second lead over Josh Herron. Now, Roger Hayden is 5 seconds back from Herron, but he just took one full second out of Herron. There might have been some lap traffic in there.
Yep.
But it's something we're going to keep an eye on, because if you do 1 second per lap and there's 5 seconds adrift and 5 to go, it could come down to a last lap move by Roger Hayden to try to finish second on the podium. And by the way, Matthew Schultz has gotten around Danny Eslick. So now Eslick relegated back to 6th, as you can see in the left part of your screen, that running order, with Peterson still in 7th spot, Lewis back to 8th, Kyle Wyman in 9th, David Anthony a top 10 position, with Bobby Fong, his struggles continuing.
That's what we looked at a little bit earlier. You
can
see that Cameron was pretty committed to stay on the gas. He just had to get out of it a little bit as they came onto that front straightaway. All the team here, this is a pretty big momentum swing, Greg, from that first race at MotoAmerica to this one now.
Yeah.
And you can see Max Flinders there. There's Josh Herron, and Tony's jumped in the back behind Herron now.
Tony's had a very interesting season because for podium finishes for Tony Elias, he's only one. He's had a DNF and he's had 2 finishes where he scored 13 points, which is 4th. So it's like for Tony, his only podium has been on the top. He's had 5 wins so far this season. Cam Beaubier is another story where he's won 2. He's had 4 second place finishes and a 3rd. So for Beaubier with the points lead, living more on the podium than Tony this particular season. But you really got to hand it to this rider, Josh Herron, digging deep. With his back in the condition it's in.
What I love is Tony Elias he's still trying to grind out laps and learn. I mean, that's the thing. Yep. He's not the guy who's going to quit. He could literally ride around right now and still finish where he's finishing right now and get points, and he knows that. But he's pushing, and he's staying with Herron right now and riding behind him.
And props to his team. Yoshimura Suzuki has got a lot of years under their belt. And one of the things that you notice on a factory machine versus a privateer team is how much attention is paid to the bits and pieces of the motorcycle so they can actually get through a crash, so they can pick the bike up and not have the brake lever broken or have the foot peg coming off of it. And so as you saw, you know, that was not an easy crash for that motorcycle, but Tony's still out on the race course, circulating around, trying to get some points. Is Tony back into 13th spot now, so back into 3 points for him. And, you know, Jason, we've seen it time and time again over the years that these are the races that could make or break a championship if you can just get that 1 or 2 points, because championships have been decided by 1 point or more many times over.
Correct. Yeah, Tony now he's jumped up to 13th that last lap. That's as far forward as he's going to go this race, because he's, 18 seconds back. Matthew Schultz now, like you said, Greg, had made his way by Danny. He's up to 5th. Got Garrett up in front of him, but not really of any threat right now to catch him. And these two guys, Rico and Bruno Silva, are still battling, which is good. They got Eslick, who went 27.7 that last lap, so he lost a little bit of time that last lap to Danny, and losing just a little bit more here right now.
Yeah, it's a tough spot to get, you know, trapped behind lappers unless you can get a good drive up the hill. So now he'll slot himself in between, and he's going to make that nice aggressive move.
Oh, Bruno decided to go with him.
Yeah, and that's
hey, if Danny's going to do it, I'm going to do it too.
That's the difficult part about being a lapper is that, you know, can I let these, you know, leaders go through with the blue flag waving, and when I do that, am I going to open myself up for a pass?
Yeah.
That's a battle on the racetrack for 15th and 16th spot.
That's an extra point. That's a point for Sam and Bruno. They're fighting over. So, yeah, they're going to be up there chasing away. 2 laps to go. This guy's, it's really fun to watch Cameron ride, because he just doesn't exert any extra energy than he needs to ride a bike. And you can see the movement that he makes from one side to the next. Watch Craig when he goes from right to left, even in the corkscrew, how little the movement is from the left to the right. In other words, he doesn't get so far off the bike for such a small little turn, like it would be 8 to 8A, I guess, being the corkscrew. He doesn't have to take his bike from one side, his body from one far side off the bike all the way to the other. Just very efficient way of riding a motorcycle.
Yeah, subtle movements. I can totally see what you're saying, going from one side to the middle and then back to the other side. Take a look at it here. His body position just a little off
the right,
and just a smidge over.
Yep.
Oh, I like that.
A little bit to the left, a little bit to the right. It makes it very easy to load the bike properly, load the tires correctly, and all those kind of things. Very direct line down through Rainey, and you can see all of the movements are very simple. And his body, you see how his body actually beats the motorcycle over to the right? So when he goes left, it's something for a lot of you that you can see out there, especially if you get a chance to come ride a Laguna Seca or track with a lot of switchbacks. It's going to be very key for you that when the bike goes left and you got an immediate right, that you get your legs loaded and you get your body moved over to the other side as quickly. You see how it's happening there again. His body's getting over to the left before the bike is actually committed to coming down the hill. So great work by our camera crew for us to be able to show that. But he just started his final lap of the race. He's got almost a 5-second lead, and he knows that this is a big thing, because he knows that he's seen Tony Elias on track lapping him. So it's going to be 25 points in the bag and a little bit bigger championship point lead.
It wasn't handed to Cameron Beaubier by any stretch of the imagination. He was not a great start. He got swallowed up early on, and he had to work for it the first couple of laps. He didn't hit the panic button. He was able to reel Josh Herron in. A little bit of a moment at the top of the corkscrew for this rider, but more patience, and he was able to make the move when he needed to, and then started to eke away right now with just about a 5-second lead over second place, Cameron Beaubier. Monster Energy, Yamalube Yamaha Factory Racing. Last time we saw him He was a race winner, did the double, his first in a while. And now it seems like Beaubier has got confidence back. He's got a really good motorcycle set up for him. And he is just putting it down on the rest of the field.
Yeah, he's making it look very easy. He's Cameron, and it was a pretty easy one to predict. This one, I felt like over race distance that he's probably really easy and good on his tires. Greg, great win for him.
Here it comes, Cameron Beaubier, the California native under the sun of his home state, will take the checkered flag in race 1 of the Motul Superbike class here in MotoAmerica. And then Josh Herrin to the line.
Josh needs an ice bath now and a lot of sleep. That's what Josh needs. Great
carbs.
job.
He's got a carb load. Down a carb load. In third place will be Roger Hayden, Garrett Gerloff in fourth, and Matthew Skultz on that Yamalu Westby Racing Yamaha. And here is, from the front row, Danny Eslick will take 6th spot for him. And that will match Danny's best finish of the season, which was at MotoAmerica in race number 1. He finished 6th, so he'll equal that for Danny. Cam Peterson in 7th spot. That's a great result for that team, as Cam Peterson had a bit of a rocky start to the year. Jake Lewis in 8th spot, Kyle Wyman in 9th, and David Anthony rounding out the top 10. Tony Elias has taken the checkered flag in 13th place, so 3 points for the reigning champion, just ahead of Max Flinders and Bruno Silva. So in that battle between Bruno Silva and Sam Verderico, it was Bruno Silva who captures that final point. So good for Bruno Silva on the number 90 machine on the ART Performance Kawasaki ZX-10R. So Josh Herrin,
he's tired.
He has to be.
He's got to be tired, and he's got to know also that now he can go get some rest. You know, believe it or not, tonight's probably going to be the crucial time of the weekend for him to try to get as much rest as he can. Tomorrow he's got 2 small practice sessions only.
Yeah.
And you know, he's not going to have to put in the amount of time. Today's the hard day. So he's going to have 2 small practice sessions and then 2 big races tomorrow.
For Josh Herrin too, you know, not oftentimes do riders look at the schedule and just go, but the schedule is going to be very similar tomorrow afternoon, as we have World Superbike race number 1 beginning at 2 p.m. local time, and then directly following it, just like today, will be the MotoAmerica Superbike class, and then Super Sport after that. I'm sure Josh Herrin would have loved to have seen the series promoters put Super Sport in between those 2 races and get a bit of a rest, but he's got to go after it tomorrow. So we'll see how the back is. It's not a guarantee that he's even going to race World Superbike race number 2 tomorrow, but we'll see how Josh Herrin fares overnight. We're going to take a break right now, but when we come back, we're going to hear from Cameron Beaubier, Josh Herrin, and Roger Hayden, who fill the podium for the Motul Superbike race number 1 here at WeatherTech Raceway, Laguna Seca. Welcome back to WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca in Monterey, California, as we just wrapped up race number 1 of the Motul Superbike class here at the Championship of Monterey for MotoAmerica, as we are filling Parc Ferme with racers. And Hannah has our 3rd place finisher, Roger Hayden. Take it away, Hannah.
Congratulations, Roger. That was a bit of a lonely race for you until the end. You were making some really good time on Josh, ended up catching up to him. Tell us about your race.
Yeah, man, I made for a long race. I made a mistake this morning in qualifying and crashed, so had to start on the 4th row. So had my work cut out for me the first couple laps, but I got a good start. Was aggressive. The Yoshimura Suzuki was working good. Had a nice gap behind me, and you know, I think Josh was just managing the gap to me. So can't thank my whole crew enough, you know, after my mistake this morning. And you know, Cameron rode a great race, and so did Josh. So we got to find a little bit of speed tomorrow, but you know, I'm pretty happy to come from 12th to get on the podium, and hopefully tomorrow will be a little better.
Congratulations. Thank you, Roger.
Roger trying to turn his season around, his 2nd, 3rd place.
Yeah, and he doesn't have to find that much pace. He's only 3/10 off, and I think if he goes with those guys early, if he could, the hardest part is he going to be able to get up to them, you know, coming from so far back on the grid, because his race pace, Greg, 24.8 to 24.5 for Cameron, it's not that far off at all.
Yeah, we'll also see, looking at his tire choice, what that tire choice is. And yeah, just to give you an idea too, by the way, Bruno Silva, who finished in 15th spot, got penalized. So he actually moved Sam Verderico up to 15th and Bruno out of the points on that one. That was for a loss of position for passing under a blue flag. So when we saw that pass happened, that would make a lot of sense to me, because it's, that puts you in a very precarious situation. If you leave the door open for the leaders to come through, it's not really fair for Bruno to just sneak on by Sam in that case.
Sam did the right thing, and then Bruno just kind of went underneath him as well. So,
and I speak from experience. All right, let's go back down to Hannah, who's got more from Victory Circle.
I'm here with our race winner, Cameron Beaubier. Cam, we've seen really consistent quick laps from you here this weekend, and a near perfect race at that. What is it about this track and about your Yamaha that really suits a race win?
It's a lot of things. As soon as we rolled it off the truck on Friday yesterday, it was just dialed in. We made a couple changes in between practices yesterday, also overnight. My Monster Energy Yamaha R1 is just feeling so good. I just can't thank those guys enough. Always behind me in the good times and the bad. And yeah, my Dunlops were hooking up really good. They brought out some new tires for us at MotoAmerica, and ever since then it seems like we've got some momentum going. So really, really happy. I think we were able to increase the points a little bit. Nothing feels better than winning in front of my friends and family. It's one of my home races, so thanks to all of them for the support, and Bell Alpine Stars for keeping me safe, the man above, and try to do it again tomorrow.
Thanks, Cam. Congrats.
And Cam says one of his home races, because when we go to Sonoma Raceway, that's the one that's closer to his home in Roseville, California.
A little bit further north.
But it's so close. I mean, a lot of friends and family come down here to see Cam race, and he put on quite a show. So Cameron Beaubier able to win by 5.4 seconds over this guy who must be exhausted at this point, Hannah.
Josh is very tired from what I can tell. Not the top step, but still a podium for you. Are you happy with these results, considering you're racing both series this weekend?
Not really. We had just kind of a bummer because we had the bike to win today, as we proved in every session up until the race. I think I might have gone maybe with the wrong rear tire, and it hurt us a little bit, but definitely fatigued from the World Superbike race. So a little bit bummed out just because the team's been working really hard to make this possible, and wanted to get them the win today. But I think I know I did as best as I could, and know there's nothing left on the table for sure, and just gonna try and improve tomorrow.
Thanks, Josh.
The cool thing about Josh is he's trying really hard. He's trying to make it to where he took this effort on with Attack to build a team. They've done a really super job. You can see Wiener Schnitzel in the background, his umbrella girl today. He's brought in aftermarket sponsors to try to help him along. There's a lot of friends that I know that have tried to help him along, and he's doing a really tremendous job. And I know it's got to be a little disheartening knowing that he felt like he had the bike to win. But that also, you got to remember, this guy was riding a stock motorcycle at Road Atlanta.
I know.
He's come a long way in 5 rounds, and he's just got to continue to push forward.
So that is our Parc Fermé, is Cameron Beaubier, Josh Herron, and Roger Hayden in that order. Garrett Gerloff, too, taking a look at him. He only finished 2.9 seconds adrift of Roger Hayden. So, Garrett Gerloff and his crew will go back and download that data and maybe make some improvements as well. And that's one to look out for definitely tomorrow. And the Yamalu Westby Racing team, Matthew Skoltz in 5th spot. The electronics that they use in that motorcycle, a little bit more rudimentary, meaning that, there's a lot of things you can turn on and off with these electronics, a lot of different things that you can do with them. On the Skoltz motorcycle, it's kind of more basic, meaning like if they want more traction control, they go up 1. If they want, they go down 2. There's not a lot of parameters in there. So I think that's part of what you're seeing with Skoltz is they just need more time. And no one had any time really to go and test since we were at Road America.
That's right.
So they're really having to learn during this race. So I would expect to see that team a little bit stronger, I think, tomorrow as well. These are the results. You can see 5.4 seconds the margin of victory for Cam Beaubier over Herron, Hayden, Gerloff, and Skoltz, like we were talking about. Eslick matching his best of the season. Like what Cam Peterson's up to on that CBR 1000RR, Jake Lewis and Kyle Wyman.
Kyle Wyman back there, Dave Anthony, then Bobby Fong. Really interested to know what happened there. I saw Bobby tip over this morning. I don't know if he's got an injury or not. Sebastian Ferrer, Tony Elias, Max Flinders, and Bruno Silva there, rounding out your points positions. So when you look at it and you start thinking about things moving forward, Tony's got a big job ahead of him tomorrow. He's got to try. Can't win the championship tomorrow, obviously, but he's got to try to stop this little roll that Cameron's on right now. And if he doesn't get it sorted here, when we start heading to Utah in a week or two, he's got to try to end this momentum as early as he can.
So it's time for podium celebrations. As you can see, that Roger Hayden has got his trophy, as does Josh Herron. So that leaves Cameron Beaubier, and up in the air it goes.
Yeah, it's a bummer for Raj because he's got pace this weekend. You know, last year he led a bunch of the races here, and if you remember, he got passed in the last lap by Tony in turn 2.
Yep.
And Raj actually has pace. It's just too bad he couldn't have got one lap underneath him today. And did you see who was up there on the podium with him?
No, who?
It looked like Eddie Lawson to me. I think Eddie Lawson
That's
is
right.
the one that
World champion Eddie Lawson handed out trophies.
Yep.
How cool is that? Good to see Eddie.
Awesome.
Awesome guy. You know, and one of the things too, Jason, that'll be interesting is, you know, one of the differences between MotoAmerica Series and World Superbike is that World Superbike is doing this reverse grid.
Yeah.
So, you know, in the perfect world, you would see, you know, a reversal. These three would start on row number 3.
Yes, correct.
But we don't do that. So my guess is it's probably going to open up that conversation to see, even though Roger Hayden, you know, listen, he would still be on row number 3 tomorrow because he finished 3rd. But anyway, look.
But he would be on row 4.
He would. All right.
He would be,
Good
right?
point. All right. We're going to take a break on Bein Sports. We'll be back. See you in a minute. MotoAmerica is presented by Dunlop. Dunlop motorcycle tires are the official tire of MotoAmerica. And powered by Kawasaki. Let the good times roll. Welcome back to WeatherTech Raceway, Laguna Seca. We're live, so I mean, we're talking, it is Saturday. You need to get out here because it's promising to be spectacular racing tomorrow, because we even have more race action. Likumali Junior Cup is coming up, Super Sport, of course, race number 2 for World Superbike and MotoAmerica as well, as now there are podium finishers of going out to spray some champagne and get the crowd wet. This is what they're here for, and they're absolutely digging it, Jason.
I love it. And you know what? I don't know if you caught that, but Herron almost wadded himself with the champagne bottle.
Boy.
Poor guy's got no legs underneath him right now. He's so tired, but it was a close one. He caught one of those little hooks that are holding those barriers up. And but yeah, I think this is pretty cool what they've done. World Superbike started it where it gets all the fans a little bit closer to the riders. MotoAmerica, a lot of times, obviously, all these guys are very, very easy to see at the track. But World Superbike's done a good job, and I love what they've done with the podium here at Laguna, turning it around this way. Mm-hmm. We've got huge crowds here, which is nice. It's really good.
It's always good to see a smile on Cameron Beaubier's face as he talks about a little advantage in that championship. You know, it's 22 points that he got back, or he got away from Tony Elias. So in that championship hunt, just by doing some rudimentary math in my head, it's going to be 24 points. That's nearly one full race for Cameron Beaubier at this point. And, you know, the way that he's rolling confidence-wise right now, Jason, it's hard to see Cameron, you know, faltering. But it's the same thing we thought of Tony at the beginning of the year. I mean, Tony was checking out of this championship, and we thought, who's going to challenge the guy?
We are literally halfway through the race, halfway through the year right now, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, when this race starts tomorrow, it kicks off the second half of the season. And you're exactly right, Greg. Anything can happen at this. Anything can happen.
Well, of course, there was a big moment of the race, and we got to highlight that for you to see what exactly it was and what our opinion is. And, you know, in the moment of the race, Jason, I think would have to go, let's see, how about we pick the pass for the lead?
Yeah, because it looked like Cameron was in there. You can see how much room he gave Josh. I thought Josh was going to just kind of hook it back underneath him, but Cameron was able to get the bike slowed down, still get a great drive off, and Herron fell right into the back of him. And you heard Herron say, he's like, God, you know, I feel like we made a little mistake, maybe with the tire choice or whatever the case is. You know, maybe that'll be great for him tomorrow. Maybe he doesn't do the World Superbike race tomorrow and saves himself for this race if he really feels like he can go and challenge Cameron.
Yeah, I think that's a possibility. He'll do some things tonight if he's doing, you know, the right thing. Maybe get a massage. You know, definitely have a good meal. Try to get a good night's sleep. And, you know, the good thing about Richard Stamboli and his crew is they're going to not bother Josh with the details of what they're going to do. One of the advantages they had today in talking to Richard Stamboli and the attack performances, today was the day where they started to break down the sectors of the racetrack and were able to start working on the traction control, you know, corner by corner. And so this data is really going to help him. So tire choice maybe, definitely more advanced electronics tomorrow for the attack team, meaning more specialized for what, you know, WeatherTech Raceway here at Laguna Seca has to offer. All right, we're going to take a break on beIN Sports. We're not done with our coverage just yet, so hang tight. We're coming back to Laguna Seca. If you're a motorcycle road race fan, then you're in the right place, beIN Sports. We've got tons of it this weekend. We've already really showed you a lot today, from World Superbike Super Pole 1 and 2 into MotoAmerica Super Pole, and then these 2 races. But tomorrow we are loaded up with some great stuff as well. You know, Hannah, looking forward to tomorrow. You know, what do you think? What are you seeing after this great day of racing?
I definitely agree with what you guys were saying earlier. Josh Herrin is probably going to go home and rest, and he definitely needs to go home and rest if he's going to be able to fight for the win tomorrow. You know, just looking at Tony Elias and some bad luck this weekend, and he's really just, things aren't going his way. I spoke with him earlier this morning, and he's still looking for that rear grip, so I wonder if that was maybe what the issue was on track for him today. Either way, I know he's going to be coming back with a vengeance, looking for some points in order to catch up to Cam, because right now he's just on a hot streak. I really think Cam's going to be right up front fighting for that win again tomorrow too. So.
Yep, Hannah, I think you hit it right on the head. I think we see one of our guys struggling a little bit, which is Tony. He's got a tremendous team around him with Yoshimura. They'll figure it out. They just got to try to figure it out before this lead gets any bigger than it is. 24 points now. Cameron Bobby is on a roll. I don't think anybody's going to beat him tomorrow either. I think it's going to take a big effort from someone to try to run Cameron down. Today the kid came from 6th place on the opening lap, still ran down here and still won the race. Josh Herrin doing a tremendous job, only 43 points out of the championship. Skoltz, Gerloff, Lewis, Wyman, Eslick, and it's nice to see Raj finally pop up on the first page of our list and on back through the field. But you know, I think Hannah has a great point. I think that Cameron's going to be the guy to beat tomorrow. It might be a regrouping for these other teams and try to do something in the last 5 rounds of the year.